All right.
It's always good to buy.
Okay, welcome back. My guests already see the conversation has started, but let me tell you what's on the pages. A Daily Guide says NDC slaps Mahama over defeat. Butcher report discloses the photograph of the former president there. Nigerian millionaire kidnapper grabbed. His photograph is also here. And then I'm counting on you. Nana tells the Council of State. Daily Guide has that story, those stories there. Daily Graphic, I'll count on your support to create a brighter future. President tells Council of State, and that Nigerian kidnapper story is also on the Daily Graphic. The Ghanaian Times has, we pray Brexit goes well. President says as he bids British High Commissioner farewell. Justice Georgina Wood takes seat on Council of State. Photographs of the President, the Chairman of Council of State, Madam Georgina Wood, and then the Chief of Staff here. And the Gold Street business says private sector needs to scale up investment. World Bank is talking there. And poor organization making SMEs unbankable. BNFT, SNIT takes a hit from bad bank loans. We'll touch on that story too. The Statesman carries the Council of State story. We will offer credible advice. Council of State assures President. That photograph here, and then the swearing in of the former Chief Justice onto the council is also the Independent has a beautiful photograph of the new member of the Council of State, the President, the Chairman of the Council of State, and then the Chief of Staff. Daily Heritage, across a psychiatric hospital in tatters, facilities in bad shape, food supply to inmates cut down. The Finder talks about Mofa, says fall army worms under control, but Gawu calls for state of emergency there. Those are some of the stories on the pages of the papers I have with me. To do the talking this morning, to my extreme left is the director of the Drolo Center for Strategic Leadership at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. S.B. Ofe. Dr. Ofe, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing great.
Fine, by His grace.
Thanks so much for your Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And then in the middle is Kojo Poku, who speaks a lot about energy. Kojo, good morning too.
Good morning,
Bright. Hope you're great. I'm fine.
very well.
I hope you're good too.
Yeah,
great. And then to my left is the group president of Wealth Vision Financial Services Limited, Mr. David Wako. Good morning too. Good morning. Hope you're doing great.
Yes, sure.
Thanks so much for joining us. And let's begin from here. Just a big story. Guests bringing the debate about the Council of State back once again. Daily Graphic, Daily Guide, Ghanaian Times, the Statesman, all of them have the story. But in the Daily Graphic, the President says that at a meeting held yesterday with the Council of State, the President says he will count on the members to assist him to discharge the heavy responsibilities imposed on him by the country's constitutional order. He reminded the members that the principal responsibility that he had as president was to lead a government that was going to get the economy working again, saying that that was the way the country's young men and women were going to be sure of getting jobs. The prime issue in the nation today, he said, was the absence of jobs for the youth, noting that if the economy worked well, then that matter would be effectively addressed. And this is when he swore in perhaps the last member of the Council of State, Madam Mrs. Justice Georgina Wood, the immediate past Chief Justice, into the Council of State. And on the Statesman, the Council assures that they will continue to offer credible advice to the President. Let me begin with you. Dr. Ofe, the Council of State and its role. Per the Constitution, the duty is only to advise. The President can say that, well, you have told me, but I really don't care about what you're saying. It brings into question the role of the Council of State. Should we review how they function in terms of what they can do?
Yeah. Let me, in the first place, say belated Happy Father's Day to all fathers. And then let me greet the President and the Council of State members. I believe all have a stake. They are all stakeholders. All on the council are all stakeholders. So if Ghana goes well, they also will benefit. They will benefit. They are not outside Ghana. And I think that whatever counsel they give, I think is born out of some good intention. And I think also that, yes, in course, I think it's only a fool who will never change his or her mind. If whatever we've been doing over the years is not yielding any fruits, any good results, then I believe that we need to change the way we go about things. Of course, whatever the Council of State does is informed by what the Constitution says. And so they are bound to advise. The President will decide to take it or not to take it. Of course, the buck stops with him. So whatever their counsel is, it may be good to the President if it's not fitting into his agenda, it's not fitting into whatever policies he wants to carry through. I think that he is not duty bound to take whatever they say. Of course, but I think sometimes what I know is that maybe let me use a Ghana proverb that says that I will translate it again. Onukpa nature in you for comfort. What it means to it is that if you have, everybody will ways that they have old folks in the house, so that they may have seen it long ago before you, the young ones, have seen it. They have those experiences. So sometimes we may disregard them, but of course they may have the intuition into what actually they believe may happen in the future because of the experiences they may have had over the period. So you don't discard into whatever the Council of State tells you. You don't discard it. You may sift through and pick, know that whatever you're doing, I mean, you are doing it for the good of the people you are leading. So the President, he may decide not to, but he could do that also at his own peril.
I see.
Yeah.
So Dr. Fair is suggesting that it is good to have them. On the other hand, the article that empowers this Council of State says that, well, they can talk, but the President can just fold his arms or her arms and look at them. So how do we reconcile this? Well, it is good to have them, but yet we can't.
They bring a different dimension to a conversation. If you look at the presidency, most of the times he's surrounded by his appointees. Hardly does the president go out to interact with people who are not his appointees. The minute you appointed a president, you are put in this bubble. And I think he should even interact with the Council of State very often. If you look at the men and women in the Council of State, these are well-educated, well-achieved individuals. And they are his contemporaries, some of them probably his senior. Chief Justice, former IGP, Council of State members, the chieftaincy, from people from the chieftaincy. The chairman is the chief of, yes. So they can be frank with him. They can be very blunt with him. So if he's doing something that they think is untoward, they can have that conversation. And every human being, if somebody has a very frank conversation with you, immediately you might not take it. But when you sit in your quiet corner, it rings in your ears. So yes, he might not take everything they say. That's why it's an advisory role they play. But their blunt conversation with him, and I hope they are blunt with him, okay, and they don't sort of do this cushioning that we've seen in our political arena, where when people come in face-to-face with the president, everything they want to say now gets to go away, and they get to now, hey, Mr. President, you know. But I think these are men and women that has that ability to do that. They would be frank with him, and if they are frank with him, he will listen. If he doesn't listen, like my brother said, it's to his own peril. These are men of experience in various fields that they are in. We have the elected or members also are from various fields. So they would bring that advice. But to me, what the president needs to pay attention to now is some of the things that are beginning to happen. Yes, the Council of State members might not drill into political areas. They might stay away from political issues, but they might not. But to me, what the president should pay attention to is the broader picture, whether said by the Council of State, or there should also be a way of he interacting with the populace, because bear in mind, the only time the president sometimes is when he goes on these thank you tours or these tours, and then people like me and you can get to voice our opinion. Or maybe when we sit here and he happen to listen, and we might say certain things that he might listen. But I think there should be more interaction with the populace and the Council of State.
I see. Mr. Waku, there seems to be this attitude to the Council of State that the public do not get to see what they do. We're being told by the chairman that soon the council will open up its doors to the public, to allow the public to get to know what they're doing. Some have suggested that let us make this council the another chamber in our parliament instead of keeping them where they are. Would you suggest that the council opens up more so that we know the interaction with the president, how they have impacted his policies or his ideas about growing this country, so that we appreciate more what they do?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bright, and good morning. I think in the wisdom of the framing of our beautiful constitution, make provision for the Council of State to be an advisor to the president. By extension to the leadership of the country, which is very good plan. And like you rightly said, hardly do we hear advices or counsels that the Council of State gives to the president or see real actions. And we know bureaucracy helps, shapes, or directs others accordingly. And most of the advices that goes to the presidency, like our earlier speakers have said, whether the president implements them or not is another question. And I also want to believe that, as we said, these are experienced and seasoned people in society. But at the same time, we don't want to believe that they have all the stock of knowledge. So if the council opens up to the public, I believe it will also bring to board the opportunity to hear from the views of the public as they put it together and shape it well to advise the president, or the public also get to know the kind of advices that even goes to the presidency. As to whether they are working on it or not, we will all see it at the end of the day. I know appointments, most of the appointment that comes out must go to the Council of State for approval. And there are instances which I'm very much aware about, that approval comes from the Council of State appointing people, but at the end of the day, at the president, the names are changed. So the question we ask is, do the presidency or the presidents take real advice? Do they really look at what advice the council gives to the presidency? So if we must move forward, if we must open it up and allow the council to interact with the public, I think it will be in a good direction, so we all see whether their rules are being performed to the letter, and if it's beneficial to the country as a whole.
I see. So, for instance, if you read the Daily Graphic story, could you let me put this question to you? The chairman of the Council of State, when he was talking at the swearing-in of the last member, the former Chief Justice, he said that, and that's from Daily Graphic, another issue which has been engaging the Council's attention is the spate of acts of indiscipline and impunity in our society, particularly a reported act of extrajudicial conduct. These incidents of misconduct are becoming a canker that must be decisively dealt with to stem its malignant effect on the social fabric. This is Nana Srobo. So then the Council takes a decision and then says that, Mr. President, do A, B, C, D to deal with this. Is this what will make the public appreciate the relevance of the council?
Well, many a times people call on Peace Council. They are also very vibrant in some of these things when we have disturbances in the country. The Council of State is, in a way, play some of the role that the Peace Council will play in instances where we feel there's turbulence or instability in the country. The recent spat of indiscipline with people, mob action or people taking over institutions and all these things. These are things that the president has already condemned.
Right.
These are things that the president has said that, look, he's not going to shield anybody in the act that's been performed. But I think the Council of State also adding their voice, because you remember, like we've all said, there are IGPs, Chief Justices in there. And they will now tell you that, look, Mr. President, if you do not put a stop to these things and make sure, not only by words, but by deeds, to make sure that these actions are dealt with, then we will now have reoccurrences. Because I have always said on this platform that we should punish people. The lack of punishment in this country is leading to most of, because Kofi does it. He doesn't really, nobody sees what happens to Kofi. So Kwame and Amma think it's okay to do it, because after all, when Kofi did it, what happened? So unless we see clear action, deeds of what happens to these people, then it will act as a deterrent to others that are thinking of doing it. I don't think we want to hash up all the things that have happened in the country, but it's worrying, okay? And it's time that the president makes sure that these things are dealt with openly, so everybody knows that these are the punishment. If the laws in our statutes are not enough to punish these people, we should review them, make them harsher, so that people will stay away. So the Council of State, hashing these things out to the president, is adding to the voice that it is a real concern.
I see. Dr. Wrap up on this one for me. So at least the consensus is that we need them. But how far should they go in impacting on the policies, the decisions of the president?
The Council of State will go far based on their remit. Okay? But I started by saying that they have a huge stake in this country. They want to see it go on, the Council of State. And these are seasoned people who have seen it all. I believe that in selecting or choosing people like this, the president took into consideration a lot of factors. And I tell you, if the Council of State is forthright, the Council of State is not going to also behave like the politicians and some people who see things and never see them.
And that's what I'm asking, that how far should they go? For instance, should they call the president to appear before them?
No.
And if issues...
I think that their role is advisory.
They should stay at that.
Yes, and he has to stay at that.
And that advice can be thrown somewhere.
He has to stay at that. Because at the end of it all, you have four years. Is that not it?
Right.
And your mandate is 4 years. And the people who are talking, who need to talk, the people who need to advise you, and if they are advising you and you think that the advice is bunkum, then what you need to do is that, you should be writing your honey over nose as early as possible.
But Doctor, I think we need to stay on this for a
yes.
But if you think their role is advisory, let's think about what goes into their remuneration. They offer advice which is not taken, and yet, at the end of the 4 years, we pay them.
Well, we don't know it's not taken. I mean, you keep hammering the point.
No, I am assuming that if it is advisory, it is not binding. The president can say that, well, I don't care what you're saying. So should we take that and continue to pay them?
Why in the first place? Why in the first? Or is it because it's mandatory that he has to assemble people like that? Why in the first place did he put him there? Put the people there? Look, I mean, look at the people, the people that are there. Very eminent people, very, very eminent people. And I believe that they also have consciences. You get it? And their conscience is first and foremost towards Ghana. And you see, where I will be having a problem, I started by saying that I hope they don't behave like the typical politicians. And then the people who will always want to equalize issues. If they see it, it must be forthright. If it is Galamsey, they must come out forthrightly. They and they must prescribe things. What I think you mentioned their role where we don't hear more of them. You mentioned it earlier that they have a role to play. I think that going forward, what the Council of State needs to do is to, if they are not going to be another chamber somewhere, what they need to do is that this time round, we should be hearing more of them. And then, apart from that, there must be a lot of advocacy work. Advocacy. And the Council of State should not just be sitting there only to... I believe that they can organize programs.
Okay. I think the law allows them to prefer advice to institutions, even if they've not been called on to do so. But the key point here is that if your role is advisory, and that advice can be thrown somewhere, should we continue to...
Right, you keep making this point that thrown out as if you are privy to... as if you are privy to instances where the advice is not taken. Let's not go in that direction thinking that when the advice is not taken. I think that in every instances, the work that they do, like we've all rightfully agreed, is to advise.
Right.
But that advice goes a long way to shape the thinking. What does the president consult them on? There are certain appointments that they consult them on. But I'm surprised that my brother said that there are names that have gone to the Council of State, came back and changed. It means that when that name is changed, that name will have to go back to the Council of State. Because a name that the Council of State has not approved or advised on, maybe they will take 3 names or 4 and they will advise on 1. But I think the one they advise is the one, because most of the law says it will be appointed in consultation with the Council of State. So they would have to, he has to consult them that, look, these are the people that I have, or this person is the person that I have to appoint. If they now agree and the president comes back and the name is changed, I would think that he would have to go back to them and say that, look, the name that I came to you before, we have some issues and we have some need to change it. But let's not preempt that the advice they are giving, like
not always
hammering, is not taken. I think it's taken.
Okay, all right. Mr. Waku, you come in. Let's wrap up on this one.
Yes, like we are all saying, you know, advice is advice. Advice is not law, it's not legislation. You are not bound to take every advice that is given to you, though this is in a high contest. But there are a lot of things we've been advised on an individual level. It's not everything that works for you. And I believe they are not there to impose it on the president. There are several advices too that it's given and it's taken. Every appointment, like we are saying, must go to Council of State. And once the people are appointed, it means there's an agreement between the Council of State and the presidency. So the president takes so much advice from the Council of State. Like we are all saying, let's just extend it. Let's know more as they interact with the public. I will go with that school of thought and agree that we need to know more about them and hear more of what they are doing to help the country develop.
I'm grateful. Let's move to the Daily Guide this morning. The banner story, NDC slaps Mahama. The story says on page 3 that Professor Kwesi Botwe, chairman of the 13-member committee that investigated the reasons why the NDC lost the December 7 elections has stated that some of the party supporters they interviewed said former President John Dramani Mahama did not put things right, and that led to the defeat. There were so many issues, but I can't stand here and say that when we told the country, all we could hear was that the ex-president was the main reason for the NDC's defeat, and therefore he should not be given another chance to lead the party. Professor Botwe told an Accra-based radio station here. Now, according to Professor Botwe, to be honest, some party supporters we spoke to said that the former president didn't handle things well. Some laid the blame on constituency executives. Others said there were no jobs in the country. Some talked about the cancellation of trainee nurses' allowance. He said the committee did not go in search of who will lead the NDC in 2020, but rather do a simple task of what led to the party's massive defeat. And that's Professor Botwe talking there. So that's the story from the Daily Guide. Mr. Waku, let me begin with you. So Professor Botwe is suggesting that key among the reasons was the fact that supporters said the leader, the presidential candidate and the then president is the reason for the fall of the NDC. Is it simply him being the reason, or because he led the team, we should heap all the reasons on his head?
Yeah, I think this particular issue, myself and many people will be very much surprised if this committee come out without saying anything of the leader of the team. He himself has come out clearly to accept responsibility, that everybody should put the blame on him, that the defeat, fine, he accepts every responsibility of that. As a leader, for sure, everybody will be looking up to him. If the victory has come to him, he will be the first person to be mentioned that, oh, Mahama has led NDC to win the last one. He take the glory. So at this point, when the blame is being put on him, I don't think it is too far from the facts that they may find out. But not to leave it there, there are many MPs who have also lost their seats. Do we say it is really the doing of the president that made the MPs also to lose their seats? Because NDC lost a lot of seats in many places. So beyond putting blame on Mahama, I think NDC need to go really down and see what are the real issues. Did it just started from Mahama, or it started way back from since the President Mills times and till today? What are we doing, or what can we do better to really solve the issues? Is it from the party hierarchy? Is it from the government side? Is it from the party structures? Is it from the grassroots people? What are the key issues? Let's look at it. Out of the blame, you can do it, but if you don't go down and solve the real issues in the party, coming back to power will be a difficult task. So for me, it is not appointing blame that is the issue. Look at the party, look at the issues, let's solve them. The real people who work, whatever reward must be given to them, give it to them. People who made mistakes, correct them. People who create problems in the party, let's look at all those things and reform the party so that, or such that, even in opposition, you can be a credible opposition. And when you come to government too, you can be a good government that will lead this country
into prosperity. I guess that's what you want to say. Could you, can we heap all the blame on the former president for the loss?
I mean, he's a leader, so rightfully, yes, he takes that thing. But you see, the NDC as a party should change their ways. Look,
how?
Listen, we sat here on this platform, me and you, and with other panelists who are from the NDC, and we tried to advise them on certain things they were doing that we, the populace, me, as somebody who is a businessman and see what's going on, I said, look, the way you guys are running this economy, that's not augur well for some of us. And they think that, look, we are doing what we think is right. And it's like they don't listen, okay? And look at the recent 6 months, how they've started in opposition. Every time, right from day one, that MPP opens their mouth, they have to organize a press conference. Who are you doing these things for? Look, NDC has 44% in the country, 44% of the voting populace. And why do I say this? In 2004, that is one of the worst defeats that had just come out of power. President Kufuor was quite popular in 2004. What did the NDC get? They got 44%, point maybe 44 or something. In 2016, what did they get? 44%, 0.64. So it tells you that NDC, whether they lift their hand or not, has a base of 44%. But that is not what they need to win power. People had differences and misgivings for the party in the early 90s because of their roots, the PNDC, AFRC era, and how they came out as a party. Along the line, a lot of us don't even care about those things anymore. Most youth of today don't even know about the NDC, PNDC era of the roots of the party. So they see NDC as a social party and what they stand for. Some older people have a certain sentiment towards the party, but the youth don't have that. The youth are looking at the policies that you are rolling out, how you manage yourself and how you try to deliver your policies. I don't think that they did that well. They had that thing where they think that, oh, we know how to win elections. We think that this is what Ghanaians need. We think if we do this, Ghanaians... You remember the instance where I sat here and said that, look, why are you guys putting asphalt on asphalt? And somebody now said, oh, in my village, when the asphalt was put there for the first time, people were happy. But we couldn't afford it. We were making expenses that we couldn't afford it. The president will stand in the Flagstaff House and say something else. Will say one thing, but his government was doing something else. He said that, look, we should run the country like the way we run our household. But that's not how he was running the country. We were doing things the country could not afford. And piling up the debt to the point where we were being now having debt to GDP ratio, and we were being told differently. The GDP ratio is 72%. Somebody say, no, it's not, it's 68%. The debt amount is this. Somebody tell you, no, it's not. So they believe that, look, if we tell Ghanaians, repeat certain things to Ghanaians more often, whether it's true or not, they'll believe it. But what politicians should know, and this thing, they said when you point one finger at somebody, look how much points back at you. The MPP, when they are now looking at these things, should take lessons from what is happening in the NDC. Because the NDC failure to listen, NDC failure to do the right things is what led them to the defeat. So anybody in their worst day will get 44% because that's your core base. What takes you to the 50+1 is people like us who now listen, watches, and then we can now meet people and say, look, we don't agree with what the party is doing. And if any party, CPP, MPP, comes to power, they do not listen to people like us and the general populace and say, look, what you are doing is not for your 44%. Yes, this manifesto, or sorry, this report will go down well for the 44%. But that is all it does. What you need to win election in Ghana, it's not a 44%.
If you say the party didn't listen, specifically, which perhaps policies or decisions that the public said, well, we don't like it, and yet the party went ahead to...
Well, the economic situation. I mean, clearly economic situation. We were spending that we didn't have. You can't spend. You know what? Deputy Minister for Trade sat on TV3 from last year and said that, look, I would not want to put out across, I know economics. Economics, how can you be a Deputy Minister of Trade and say that I don't want to put, no, sorry, Deputy Minister for Transport. For Transport. She was Deputy Minister for Transport. She said, I don't want to put myself out to make it look like I know about economics. That is not what, because MPP were pointing out the economic defect of the nation, they were now going the other way saying that, oh, that is not what matters. But it does. You don't get the fundamentals right. Yes, like the other day you discussed, inflation and all those things don't put money in our pockets. Right. But they are indicators. They are why people will invest in the country. They are why businessmen like me would build another factory or not. They are indications why I can go to the bank and get loans. If those things are not right and you don't listen to advice and you think that they don't matter, you get it wrong, because jobs and all those things comes as a result of putting the right physical policies in place.
Dr. Fair, so clearly, your co-panelists have agreed that you can't put all the blame on the head of the former president, and that there are several reasons that contributed to the defeat.
Right. Who am I to say blame should not be put on the former president? Who am I? He himself came up. And rightly so. You are the leader. You are steering the boat. So if it doesn't go well, most often...
But he said he rode a lame horse, so...
Yes, he also knew what was happening. He was a man, the monkey in the chair. And he saw what was happening. But, you know, look, when you are midstream, you are desperate. You don't even know what to do. Sometimes you're thinking doesn't go right because you are desperate, okay, to do certain things. I think that for me, sitting from afar, I saw really that the man was riding a lame horse. You know, he wasn't standing on any leg at all. He was just moving.
The horse had no legs at all.
Yes, and I think that we must not lose sight and must not forget the fact that this is not the first time such a thing has been done to a past president. I believe that at a point, the last, which one was that? Was it 2012 or so?
The last elections.
2012.
Yes.
Right.
The 2012 elections, some of it was blame on ex-President Kufuor for not supporting.
And for certain decisions.
Certain decisions. So it's not the first time we are hearing a thing like this. Besides, I think that what I saw was that the NDC had electoral, you know, they never had they had electoral constituencies. They never had political constituencies. What I mean by this is that they didn't. Could you say something? They weren't factoring in certain issues that were directly bearing on the economy, bearing on the politics of our time. They weren't doing that. They were not. They never knew. They did not consider. They did not consider the youth in particular, and the youth. They never knew mostly about. They never knew Jerry John Rawlings. Okay, they never knew what happened in the past. So if they never knew all this, they only came to hear certain things. All they want now is job. They finish school, and they have what they need to do is to form a graduate, what do you call it, unemployed association. At best, the only job they can get is you are the secretary and I am the chairman. Okay, so that was what they saw, and all these things. Seriously, people were papering on them. They were not actually going to the nitty-gritties. Now, let me tell you, I think that I saw, from a particular constituency, if not one, if not two, then one. Some constituencies I saw, the MPs knew that, okay, it was a done deal for them, and as to whether the president won or not, they didn't care. They laid back, and then along the line, they started making noise. Okay, the president has done this, the president has done that. I saw, and I saw it. I didn't say I heard it. I saw it. So I saw some of them. Okay, and this is what happened. The DCs and what do you call them?
MPs?
MCs and all those. Some of them were the bane of this. So for us to dwell, and I think that I thought Daily Guide would have been a bit more objective in their reportage. Because
have you been able to read all the paragraphs? Just read a few paragraphs. But the main story is
the main story is this, and I think that yes, it's news, but for me, this is not the first time it's ever happened
to a sitting president who's lost an election. Yeah, all right, Dr. Famgifo, let's spend just 3 minutes on this one. The recommendations. The party says it needs to get back to the grassroots and speak to the people. It needs to put back in place its system of collation of resource and all that. Several other recommendations. Is that what will bring the party back on its feet? Just about a minute on this one.
Yes, I think it's good to work on the party because that is the machinery that gives you the victory or gets you win an election. But beyond all these things, I want us to also understand that the electorate today across the whole world is really giving opportunity to every government to serve for 8 years. One thing that happened in this election is that NDC along the line, the focus was on Mahama. At a point, it's like they have forgotten that you have served 8 years.
The party has served 8 years.
The party has served 8 years. And the electorates are ready to give opportunity to another person also to serve. So before you can cross the 8 years, then you must prove beyond every reasonable doubt that you have that it takes to lead the country. So I think it's an advice for all political parties. For 8 years, many people want a change, whether you are doing whatever or not. So anybody who wants to cross may look beyond
just performing.
May look beyond just performing. So it's good to work on the party, but we should also understand that Ghana as a whole, or the electorate, they want to see more than just being in power.
Okay. Yeah. Could you, the recommendations, that's the way forward?
Well, I think two things. One, the political party should try to encourage volunteerism, okay? Money is becoming too much a bane in the grassroots. The more they entice grassroots with money to get involved in politics, the more expensive it becomes to have a political party. Across the world, where democracy came from, is volunteering. Grassroots politics is volunteering. But because of the level of arrogance when people win power, okay? Somebody would do volunteering for you. You become a minister or an MP. They call you, you don't pick your phone. Today, as I'm speaking to you, there are ministers who don't pick their phones. There are MPs who don't pick their phones. You send them WhatsApp, they read it, they don't even reply. You even try to discuss something with them, you collect their email address, you send them an email, even a simple acknowledgement, they don't acknowledge. So it becomes difficult for the grassroots to want to volunteer because he feels that, look, if he gets you elected and you go away, he will never get to see you again. Even simple phone call, he will not get from you. So that is why it's a problem at the grassroots. But I think in Ghana, for politics to thrive, we should try as much as can to educate the youth that, look, politics is charity work. Basic. It's charity work. Because if we don't see it as charity work, the amount of money that will be needed to now get into politics will be very, very, very expensive.
Will it ever work?
Well, we have to educate. We have to. We have to try to get that right. If we don't, then it becomes a problem.
Okay, Dr. Fair, 1 minute on this. The recommendations and if there's a way to...
Right. This is where I would differ from my brother. I think that
it shouldn't be one of charity.
It's not charity.
People should take
it's not charity.
But that is what it is. In Ghana, it's not. But that's what it is.
It's not charity because for as long as the people see you and they'll be demanding from you to pay their children, their children's school fees, and then their kojemo and all that. Okay,
it won't work.
It won't work.
Charity won't work.
Charity won't work. But I think that right. I want to ask this question: what was the message for NDC in their last? I think it was all about Mahama. It was all about Mahama, and for me, I think they should go back And look at that. Because it should be party, then you promote. It should be the party, and then you promote your leader. But it was all about Mahama. What Mahama had done. What about the party itself? People didn't see the party.
I'm grateful. The finder this morning says Mofa is suggesting that fall armyworms under control. The Minister of Food and Agriculture says that fall armyworms invasion has been contained throughout the country. Ebenezer Abuaji, who is the Acting Director of the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Directorate of the Ministry, told the finder that all affected farms have been sprayed. According to him, adequate chemicals have been dispatched to all the 10 regions with trained spraying gangs. All 10 regions have been affected, with farmers losing hundreds of thousands of cedis of investment. Now, this is the story from the Agric Ministry, but the General Agricultural Workers Union, or the TUC, is suggesting that it will be critical and timely for government to declare a state of emergency to marshal resources to appropriately fight the infestation of fall armyworms in the country. The General Secretary, who spoke to the finder, said that the fall armyworms that have migrated from the Caribbean to Ghana seem to be in their comfort zones, as the country seemed not to be finding solutions and getting rid of them. So some bit of reconciliation to be made. Mofa says we have controlled them, but Gawu says that, well, we seem not to have done that. Mr. Waku, so declare state of emergency and deal with the situation, as Gawu is saying?
Yes, I will agree with that, because these armyworm stories, anytime I hear them, my mind takes me back to the Bible. Anytime God wants to punish his people or certain people, these are kind of things that befall the people, and immediately after that, there comes famine.
Right.
If Mofa is telling us that they have sprayed the farms, the question I ask is, the crops that these armyworms have attacked, are they safe, or those crops have been destroyed? And what supplement do we have to cater for our food sufficiency in the near future? What are we going to do? And these worms, most times, it's not just spraying them. You spray them now, are they totally eradicated? What plan B do we have in case they come again? What can we do? In these things, the only way out is prevention. If we can trace how did they enter this country, how can we prevent them that in future they don't even come at all? What provision is government making or stakeholders making to get enough food that the crops that they have destroyed, we are able to make enough provision to plan for our food sufficiency in the near future?
So it is just not about containing them.
It's not just about containing them. They have destroyed an amount of crops. What are we doing to sustain our food sufficiency in the near future, if we are able to tell us something like that? So the declaring of the state of emergency in order to address this issue to the letter, I will support it.
So would you support same?
Well, I really don't know what the state of emergency brings. In the U.S., where these actions are taken, for you to have, that's why it's called a state of emergency.
Right.
For a state to access federal funding, you declare a state of emergency, and that is when federal funding is made available. So there are certain monies that you can't access, or certain support you can't get from the federation until there's a state of emergency. So the state is distressed, then federation comes in and help. In Ghana, I don't know what funding or what steps declaring the state of emergency now brings. There must be certain acts that maybe the military would have to be sent to the farms to help. They can't naturally do that until you declare a state of emergency. So I don't know. But to me, we need the right structures in place.
What about a state of emergency so that our development partners can come in?
Well, do we always need developing partners to come in? At Ghana, we should go past that. Look, insecticides. How much are insecticides? How much are... You see, having insecticides in all regions to be able to spray our farms is a norm that we should be doing. We are in January. Sorry, we are in June. halfway through our season. So the poor farmer, the first rains came, he treated his ground, he now planted his seeds. Halfway through, when he's getting closer to harvest, which is about in 3 months, it's being destroyed by these worms. Now, we have not even sprayed, because most of these farms, if you spray them for insecticides, then these moth and stuff like that will not be able to now attack the farms. So it tells you that most of these farms that were attacked has not even been sprayed. And it's been the culture in Ghana over the years where we have abandoned the use of insecticides because the farmer doesn't have even enough to even cater for the farm, much more go and buy insecticides. So it is the structure in the, if the minister comes in and says, look, he's going to do planting for food, he's going to do this. I think that we should sometimes get the basics right. What are the basics? Do we have enough fertilizer for our farmers? Do we have insecticides for our farmers? Let's tackle those things. Then you can now have initiatives that are grandiose. But the minute you now move to grandiose, then you now miss the basics. I'll give an example. Yesterday we heard that Napo, the Minister of Education, my brother was saying that they are going to cost over $200 million to build, to refurbish some schools. These schools existed when somebody decided that they are going to build 50 new schools a day. Sorry, 50 new schools a year. And some emphasis was put, and so much donor funding was put in that 50 new schools, and we got some. What happened to looking at the basics? What existed? How could we have refurbished? The money that was spent, some of the schools that are now sitting in weeds, some of these schools that people are in there could have been refurbished. So in Ghana, everybody comes in and he wants to do grandiose. We should stop the grandiose.
We should go back and look at what is behind.
Insecticide fertilizers for existing farmers. Are we doing that? If you've not done that, then all these mega plans we talk of is in vain because you have missed the fundamentals.
I'm grateful. Dr. Fair, so Mr. Waku says that we could have controlled the army, the fall armyworm, but we need to also take a look at what they have destroyed and how to replace them. Perhaps that is the only way to ensure we don't run into trouble with providing food for our people.
I think that if you're a farmer, this time around, you'll be weeping. You'll be weeping because you spend a lot. You go for a loan, and you spend a lot. You put in all this, only for a day. You have a day. Your farm is destroyed, and apart from your farm being destroyed, what the net effect is that we are going to have food insecurity in the state. State of emergency, yes. Just as my brother said, I think this time around I agree with him.
We should not go into a state of emergency?
No, not. We may go for a state of emergency, but what are the activities? What are we going to do? Do we have any plan? Have we planned for a thing like this, a state of emergency? What is going to go into it? Who are the stakeholders are we looking at? Is it because, look, right, this thing didn't start today. If you ask the MOFA, they will tell you that it didn't start today. We've ever had these armyworms here in Ghana. What research did we embark on? What is the research? And if now we are going to go into a state of emergency, what did we do in the past so that we should come to this state now? Then we declare a state of emergency. We are going to declare a state of emergency. Yes, it is an emergency then. So what it means is that we want to we'll go for such loans, we'll ask people to come, donor agencies and things like that. At the end of it all, we'll finish and we go back to sleep. And I think that this is a wake-up call for all of us. We have been trumpeting this particular thing, that there must be food security, abundance of food, and things like that. Are we prepared for that?
Okay.
It shows our lack of what do you call it? Preparedness. for.
Okay. Dr. Farr, I'm grateful. A quick one before Johnny comes in.
These things will always happen, okay?
The army firms will always invade.
It's infestation. Infestation will always happen. Okay. But it's the response. They were cited. The minute they were cited and reported, what was our response? Before they now spread to other farms. So the minute they were cited, if we do not have the requisite response, it will happen today, it will happen tomorrow, it will happen next year.
Right.
So response is the most important.
I heard somebody say that this particular type of thing has a problem. You may try to clear here, and then they are back. Yeah. They grow, what do you call it, is it mutation or whatever, and then it creates a problem.
Okay. All right. Okay. I got scared when Mr. Waku referred to the bag because in that incident it was 7 years. I hope it's not 7 years. Johnny is here. Johnny, good morning.
Morning, Bright. Thank you. A few messages on WhatsApp. It says, good morning, TV3. I'm enjoying your show this morning. Keep it up. Always. But one thing is that the opposition NDC always talks too much. They should stop that kind of their incompetence things because it will never help. Stanley Dynasty from Tema. Nadmo here, Nadmo there. But in all, we now are the cause. Okay, so we are the cause of those problems. And then we sit down and say Nadmo should come to our aid. Oh, Ghana, he says. And that's an emoji there showing his resentment. Good morning, TV3. You guys are the best. Watching from Ho Dennis. Thank you. And things fall apart and the center cannot hold. NDC think they are destroying Nana-Addo and painting him black, and now it has turned to them. I can tell you for a fact that they are in intensive care, and who will heal them? You know, your guests are good as mine. And stop corruption hashtag now. It says from Sami Boache from Asamankasi. Nadmo has been the avenue for employing party members. That's why it's not functioning. It needs reforms. You say, job for the boys coming from Cove Town. Good morning. The Vox Pop segment on Nadmo was powerful. Let's also acknowledge them small. Okay. We will acknowledge them. Good morning, Nana. I'm a Bright and Johnny. Okay, I love your program too much. Keep the good work. God bless you. And good morning. Keep up with the good work you're doing. God bless you. Ferdinand from KNUST. Good morning, and thanks for the good work you're doing. About Nadmo, this is all about this creating job for the boys, and the youth employment is causing all this. I'm sure you mean. We need to have a very a good look at that from John inside Accra New Town. I'm really enjoying the program this morning. Thanks, Osman Essien. And hello, good morning, New Day, Uncle Bright and Father, Uncle Johnny and Father Bright. You sound like a priest already, right? Your hard work has proved this job was really destined for you. You have made me realize that I made the right decision by delegating this work to you. Thank you very much, Felix Tre, Sapient and Ho. Good morning, TV3. In fact, you guys are doing well. Why is it that the minority in Parliament always stands firmly against any decision made by the ruling party? They should stop this criticism so that the country can move forward. Goswe Asuman from Volta region. And he is not the only Nigerian using Ghanaian passport. We have Nigerians who are using Ghanaian names for fraud. Yet we have our leaders in our country. They have been arrested, and all the police do is to collect money from them and let them go. We need to arise as a country and do something about these Nigerians. I bore off Efe Bonziwa in a breeze, and that one says, finally, Bright, why won't army worms destroy our maize farms? When leaders don't love the citizenry, worms will love our maize. We are living in a country in which the easiest thing government can do is to either initiate or continue a ban on the recruitment of teachers. We members of the Unemployed Teachers Association are appealing to the Ministry of Finance to give clearance for the recruitment and posting of all distant and sandwich education graduates to teach in the public schools throughout the country. Otherwise, our members will stage an explosive demonstration. Al-Assad Baku, president of Unemployed Teachers Association. Right? Interesting there. It says the citizens don't love the people, the maize will love the Armyworms will love the maize.
All right.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your Wednesday morning. Dr. S.B. Ofe is the director of the Drolo Center for Strategic Leadership at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. I'm grateful, Dr. Ofe, for your Wednesday morning. Kojo Poku speaks and dreams and talks a lot about energy. And he says he's a businessman too. Kojo, good morning.
Good morning. I think I have to form an unemployment association.
I see.
So that we need a panelist that are unemployed.
Yes, exactly. And Mr. David Wako is a group president of Wealth Vision Financial Services Limited. Grateful for Wednesday morning. Thanks so much, those of you who stayed out there to be part of the show.